Reuben Carranza is currently the group's CEO and member of the board of directors for 3 hair companies, Amika, Eva NYC, and Ethique. Reuben started his career with Procter Gamble, where he spent 24 years of increasing responsibilities across varied business units and geographies, working with brands like Pantene, Olay, CoverGirl, Clairol, and Wella. He was then named the North American CEO for Wella Professionals. There, he led the restructuring of the businesses into an integrated organization of over 600 employees. Side note, that's when we met too. In 2014, Reuben became a partner in Luxury Brand Partners and led the creation, launch, and scale up of R+Co, the first luxury hair brand launched by LBP. After the expansion of the brand across 14 countries and after the sale of 3 iconic brands from LBP, Oribe Hair Care, Becca Cosmetics, and Pulp Riot Hair Color, Reuben left the operational management team of LBP. In 2018, Reuben was appointed the president of Olaplex by the founders and led the implementation of infrastructure to support growth. He led the launch of Olaplex in Sephora, where it became the #1 hair care brand in 3 months. After doubling the business in 12 months, Reuben co-led management sales pitches, enabling the acquisition of the brand from the founders. In August of 2019, Reuben joined Unilever Prestige as the CEO of Kate Somerville Skin Health Experts. In July of 2022, Reuben was named CEO of Amika, Eva NYC, and Ethique. All right, today on the podcast, we have the one, the only, the oh so lovely and wonderful Reuben Carranza, the group CEO and member of the board of directors for 3 incredible companies, Amika, Eva NYC, and Ethique. Welcome, Reuben, to the pod.
Hi, Kelly. I'm so excited and humbled by your invitation.
You bet. Well, it's a long time coming. You are at the top of our list for a while. So here we are. You've got a lot to talk about, but we want to get started talking about all things Reuben. So tell us a little bit about your background. How did you get started in the professional beauty industry?
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm the son of a hairdresser and the nephew and cousin and second cousin of hairdressers. Kind of started very early in my career being in salons and helping my mom in her salon, but officially on the professional side, Gamble in about 18 years into my career with P&G. I was working on the beauty side of the business, and P&G acquired the Wella company. And after a couple of years, I was asked to kind of move to the professional side of the business, primarily because nobody else really knew anything about that professional business. I became the North American general manager and then the North American CEO, and spent the last 8 years of my career on the professional side. And that's really when I got my first real dip as a business person on the professional side of our industry.
That's amazing. I think we met back in those P&G early days, and you were the fearless leader that went out to Woodland Hills and took those pro brands under your belt and did some incredible things with them. So congratulations on all of that work. All right. So tell us, as we met back in the P&G days, tell us about your career progression from there and the different companies you've been at, and certainly landed at these top 3 brands, overseeing them now.
Absolutely. I knew pretty early, but probably about my 20-year mark with P&G, I knew that I had no interest in being in any of the other businesses. I was kind of a beauty boy. I loved the beauty business. And so I was very fortunate to be able to spend those last 8 years at P&G on the Wella side of the business. And then I made a career choice, right? I knew that I was seeing so much unmet demand coming from hairdressers and the clients in their chair that the big companies just couldn't deliver against. So I said, you know what, I'm going to become an entrepreneur. So I joined Luxury Brand Partners just as they were being created. They had launched Oribe Hair Care, and we had partnered with Oribe Hair Care with Wella Color. And so I joined the LBP team as one of the partners to launch R+Co, the first brand in that portfolio. And what really drew me to that was, the opportunity to take a brand that was at concept, initially kind of creating what the look and the feel was going to be, but really driven by 3 iconic hairdressers, right, who had very different careers and perspectives. Guerin, who is the king of hair, the godfather of hair. Tom Priano, who really has been amazing with men's hairdressing, but also does incredible women's hairdressing. And then Howard McLaren, who really spent over 30 years at Bumble and Bumble. And we had a lot of fun. And I will tell you, it was absolutely completely different than the 24 years I had just spent in a corporate environment. I mean,
Yeah.
this literally was, you have a budget, you have a timeline to get to profitability. And
Mhm.
every Friday it was literally, can we pay the payroll? And
Ooh,
so you learn different muscles, right? You do different things. Not a lot of people are successful to do that transition, but I was so excited and so proud of what we've done with R+Co, and R+Co is still
mhm.
flourishing and and doing great things in the business. After the sale of Oribe Hair Care with Luxury Brand Partners, I really stepped away from the operational side of the business, and thought I was going to do some consulting. That lasted about 3 months. I got a call from Dean and Darcy Crystal, who had founded Olaplex,
Yep.
and they said, "Listen, we need someone who understands big company scale, but isn't a suit, right? And
Yeah.
we've got Sephora that wants to take the brand on. We're in, the beauty on the fly. We have no idea how to do that. Would you be willing to come in and do that?" So I did. I joined Olaplex, no office, 32 people,
Wow.
um, and really kind of started that process. The sales had been flat for about 2 years. And so we doubled the business in a little under 12 months. Hired a really talented individual, Michael Pierce, who's now with a skincare brand, Glow Recipe, and who's Mr. Sephora. And we really created that market for Sephora. Became the #1 hair brand in 3 months at Sephora,
Wow.
and really kind of accelerated and cleaned up some of the international distribution. Got time for Dean and Darcy that kind of made a decision they wanted to sell. So myself and Tiffany Walden kind of led that process. And then I exited right before the brand sold, and really thought, you know what, I really want to go into skincare. And so this opportunity in clinical skincare happened with Kate Somerville under the
Yeah.
Unilever Prestige banner. And
Okay.
so I joined Kate Somerville. And what I loved about it was a new category, but it was also a business that had at its core a spa, a Medi Spa. So our
Mhm.
iconic Medi Spa in on Melrose Place in West Hollywood. So we were, I probably spent at least 2 or 3 days out of the month at the clinic, because you're literally seeing nurses and estheticians working on patients and hearing what's happening and what the trends are and what the challenges are. And COVID hit. So really leading a service-based business and a clinical-based brand during the height of COVID was also one of those once in a lifetime opportunities. And we did amazing. We grew the business 60% over the course of COVID. Uh, we
Wow.
were the as China started to change the registration requirements for domestic production, right? So they dropped having to do animal testing, but it was just a maze of requirements. We were very proud to be the first company in the industry to get a license to produce in China. And it was right about that time that I got a phone call about this opportunity that was happening with Amika. And so it
Yeah.
was about to be sold. When I started R+Co, um, it was right about the same time that Amika started. So I remember going to trade shows, and we weren't in
Oh yeah.
distribution with R+Co, and watching this incredibly
Right.
colorful, inclusive brand, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, that's very consistent with what we're doing with disruptive packaging, et cetera. So they've always been kissing cousins. But it was really an incredible opportunity to get back in skincare and really to do it with a private equity partner that was really wanting to create some breakthroughs and support the businesses. And of course, I knew Chelsea, who's the
Yeah.
global president. I knew Cheyenne, so it really felt like a coming home.
Yeah. That's amazing. Those are some pretty incredible milestones. I mean, for your time at P&G, taking over the Salon Pro, moving into Olaplex, which was like a total firebrand, right, in the market. Well, you and your team made it so. I didn't realize that sales were flat for that many years because it came out the gate
Right,
consumer wise, it just ooh, and there it was. It was
right.
everywhere. I mean, what a category to innovate and with you at the helm.
Yeah.
Then over into skincare and now at Amika. I mean, what
Yeah.
in the world could possibly be next? I'm sure the Amika team says, nothing, stay here forever.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And Kelly, what was really drawing me to the opportunity was a couple of things. One, I knew some of the individuals in the brands, right? So
Yeah.
that's always kind of a helpful thing. And I knew the culture and I knew the philosophy, and it was very aligned with my own personal
Okay.
philosophies and culture. The private equity team, I knew a few of those folks,
Oh, wow.
but their philosophy around we want operators who are going to lead the businesses, and we are there to enable and support. And that's really how it's played out because
That's
I've
great.
had other conversations with it and worked with a few other PE groups that have a slightly different hands-on approach.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest thing for me was the philosophy behind how we're growing these businesses was really centered around brand presidents that own the business. And
Okay.
so I've never been in a role where I had someone who was a brand president for the three
Yeah.
brands in individual brands. And my job was to do the strategic piece,
Hmm.
making sure supply chain, making sure contract manufacturers, enabling, doubling down on the strategy and pushing on the strategy. And once we lock on the strategy, making sure that the teams have the requirements and the resources to win. So that is a very different dynamic. And it's been
Mhm.
so exciting to be able to do that. And candidly, it's allowed me to leverage the 30 years of experiences I've had in a very pointed way.
That's incredible. I was just talking the other day with Brandon Hutchins with Beauty Industry Group, and similar model, right? Where they've got this conglomerate of brands, but each of those brand leaders are sort of running those businesses. And it's a really cool entrepreneurial-esque, corporate-esque model, right?
Right,
Very
right,
unique and different.
right.
Amazing. Okay, so now we're going to move on to kind of your position in leadership in the industry. What have you seen that's happened in the industry in the last 10 years? How has it changed?
It's been a huge evolution. When I started with Wella, I think there was a lot that was transpiring in terms of um, how products were getting to hairdressers and how
Yeah.
hairdressers were working in the market, right? So at that time in 2006, I'm going to sound like a dinosaur.
No,
I
I'm
mean,
there with you. Yeah. Oh.
it was really, you graduated from beauty school and you went into a commission-based salon and you
Mhm.
worked your way up from an assistant to behind the chair. And product was typically sourced from distribution that was really driven by salon consultants who were coming in and
Yep.
selling you the
Yep.
products. And you had the occasional brand that was doing direct distribution to the salons, right?
Yep.
And the products that were in the salons, salon owners were very adamant that if it's being sold anywhere other than the salon, we're not going to take it, right?
Yeah. Sure.
And
Hmm.
if you juxtapose what has happened from that point to today, you have, the predominant channel now, if you graduate from beauty school, is you're probably working independently or moving
Yeah.
into these booth environments, right? So the need for training, education, mentorship has just accelerated, but that whole model has been disrupted, and the pandemic accelerated some of that disruption. You also have had brands now that are playing in multiple channels. And so now it's been interesting. If a product is professional and it's take home professional and it's trending on TikTok, and you have
Hmm.
people coming into the salons going, "Oh my God, I just saw this. Do you have it?"
Yep.
It's a completely different model now, right?
Yeah.
And I think for the better because it's consumer
Okay.
based, right? So I think services will always continue to be the dominant revenue source for salons and for hairdressers. But I think how those products compensate and add to, I think has really evolved.
Yeah, absolutely. As also as a leader in the industry, what are some things that you hope to see change in the future? You took us back 10 years, take us forward the next 10. Like, where are we going? What are Ruben's predictions?
Well, I'll tell you what, predictions are difficult. So I'm going
Yeah.
to tell you Ruben's hopes. Okay.
Hopes. I like hopes. Okay.
Um, my one of the biggest hopes and I think focuses that we all need to rally around is licensure, right?
Yeah.
I think that we will I think we need to continue to have licensed professionals because that training is critical. And it may not necessarily always be on the creative elements of the hairdressing profession, but the sanitation, the professionalism related to being a licensed professional is critical. So I think the conversations about let's do away with licensing that some of the state legislatures are doing, I think is ridiculous. Okay.
Agree.
You wouldn't want your doctor just to decide one morning, oh, I'm going to be a surgeon and show
Yep.
up and do what they're going to do, right?
Right. Right.
But why would you want someone who may be putting chemicals on your hair, not have the proper training to understand the sanitation and the protocols and the safety and all of those elements? Okay, so that's one piece that is critical. The second thing is we've got to get our act together in the US around how we do reciprocity of licensing. If I'm getting trained in Texas, and now I have to move to California, or I need to move to New York, we should have reciprocity and we should have the ability to have license migration, right? Right now we make it too difficult. Every state has to have their own little point of view. And I think it's an unfair barrier for professionals in our business. So that's one of the second pieces that I think is important. The third is, I think our industry, Steve Reese and I had a conversation about this as we were trying to fight for licensing, reciprocity. And he made a comment to me that I still tell him was really mind blowing. 50% of every American is touched by a licensed professional on a daily basis. Ooh. And if you think about that, hairdressers, makeup artists, barbers, massage therapists, nail technicians, etc., are all licensed professionals in our industry. Not even the medical profession has that much of hands-on physical contact. And then when you start to think about the size of our industry, we are the biggest service-based industry in the US. And we don't leverage that scale to ensure that we have the proper taxing benefits like restaurants get, that we don't have the right level of support and legislative support, right? Because we are the American dream. We are where you can create a career that can take you anywhere you want to go, or can be incredibly rich being behind the chair working on clients, right? So I think it's that idea of how do we elevate our industry? How do we elevate the profession so that we're continuing to kind of get the attention and the support that the industry deserves?
Yeah, well stated. I mean, one of our soapboxes that we stand on here is, we want everyone from your guidance counselor to your grandfather to know that this is a viable, successful, opportunistic profession, right? And so we want to elevate the licensed pros across all of those different market segments because we have a peak inside the industry, right? I always thought, probably you always thought as well, that this was one of the best professions to have because we grew up in a salon, right?
Correct.
We grew up with our moms, making people feel beautiful literally every day of our lives. And so it's so interesting that, we want to shout that from the rooftops as well.
Correct.
Are there any organizations that you feel are helping with this that we should rally behind? Our listeners should?
Absolutely. I mean, I think there's two that come immediately to mind on the legislative front and on kind of the sequencing piece of it. The Professional Beauty Association is the biggest industry association, and it under its big umbrella, you have individual hairdressers or licensed professionals, you have distributors, professional distributors, you have salons, as well as and that are all focused around advocacy for the industry and the profession. I think on changing the consumer perception around what a career as a licensed professional could be and can be, it's beauty changes lives. I was one of the original members working with Beauty Changes Lives, and I think their mission is very straightforward, right? Yeah. It's changing the perception of careers in the beauty industry as licensed professionals. And I think that's powerful. And I think we have to be doing that.
Yeah, great point. To follow both of those organizations, Beauty Changes Lives, I know you've done some incredible work with them as well over your years in the industry. Let's talk a little bit about some other things that you've done to give back to the industry. Sure. Share with me some of the other things you're involved with, where you feel the industry really needs to garner some additional support.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we started the Beauty Changes Lives, partnering with Linnell Lynch, right? One of the first things that we wanted to do was we wanted to make the barriers to entry for individuals who, may want to go to beauty school and get a license but couldn't afford to do it. We wanted to ease that. So at the time, being with P&G, we were able to get a $1.5 million endowment that from Wella to kick off beauty scholarships for individuals. And that has continued to kind of grow. I like to say that every company I've been with, immediately we figure out a way to participate. We created scholarships for students who wanted to become estheticians through Kate Somerville, and our work with Amika is also, we're doing scholarships to Beauty Changes Lives. So that's been kind of a consistent theme, right? What I've been really excited about is one of the things that Amika has always had as a part of its core DNA is giving back. When Cheyenne and Avita and Chelsea way back really started to partner with a lot of industry associations, but they were always focused around how do we help have people have access and how do we give back. There was an organization called Hair to Stay, which really brings cooling technology, hair cooling technology, scalp cooling technologies that allows people who are going through cancer treatments to retain more of their hair. And so we started working with that organization, many years ago. We're now up to over $1 million in donations to Hair to Stay. And we've been able to rally some of the other individuals, companies in the organization to support it. We've created, we do a limited edition soul food mask where the proceeds go to Hair to Stay. But we're giving back in that way. But this year we also launched kind of the next phase of what we're doing. And so we've launched our Beauty Changes Lives scholarships, and they're really focused on, we call it our Friends to Hair scholarships. And it's really focused on enabling BIPOC and LGBTQ individuals who are wanting to get into the beauty industry to have scholarships to get in. But we also launched, in partnership with an organization called SoGal, we launched a mentorship program for hair care founders. And what we've done is we've chosen, we launched the program in June. We went through, the assessment process, but we've just selected 6 female founders that each received a $25,000 grant from us. And we are part of a 6-month cohort where we're doing a whole series of things, from mentorships. Chelsea and I just did a fireside chat with these folks. And think of, these are all women founders, are in early stages of their businesses in the professional business. And so it was everything from, I have to hire a supply chain person, what do I think about, to I've got a strategic decision I have to make around distribution, right? We're going to be sponsoring them and taking them to beauty events. We're going to pair them with some of the experts in our own organization. But it's this idea of creating the next waves of founders who may not have the access to some of the supports. And we want to be there shoulder to shoulder, helping grow the entrepreneurial element of brand founders.
That's amazing. Was this your brainchild?
I wish I could say it was. No, I helped influence a bit of how we created it, but it was really Chelsea and our DE&I director Gian and our chief of staff for Amika, Anika, who really kind of had this idea of like, we really need to be investing in the future.
Yeah, that's incredible. I love it. All right, now we're going to shift a little bit more into the Amika side, right? So this year, Amika became B Corp certified, the first hair care brand at Sephora. What does this mean for the company? Walk us through that.
Oh my gosh, one of so sustainability and ESG, as it's known in the industry, is one of what I love about our brands and what I love about the PE group is it's not lip service. The brands have to have at their core an ESG kind of philosophy. It has to be embedded in the mission and vision, and it has to be part of the DNA. So Amika and Eva NYC have always had that. But how does the consumer really know, right? Like there's Leaping Bunny certification and stuff like that. And Sephora has their Clean at Sephora, and Target has Target Zero, and Ulta has Conscious Beauty, but there's no real standard. And we viewed on an ESG front B Corp was really that standard. And B Corp is it's not for the faint of heart, because it's 5 categories that you have to qualify under. And each of those categories have a number of elements to it, and right. And it's everything from your sustainability and sourcing and net carbon zero footprinting to what you would expect, to things like governance, right? So do you pay, what's your pay structure for your employees?
Wow.
What is the distribution of profits and of revenue across your employee base?
Okay.
Are you doing fair trade in your sourcing? Can you verify that that in your supply chain, you're not sourcing ingredients from hotspots? Like, it is in
Okay.
depth, deep, and not everybody gets qualified.
Yeah.
So for us to do the work, was really, really powerful. We have an ESG director. She's 5 years out of college. She's passionate and incredibly brilliant. And so, it was an entire company strategy behind it. But I'm really proud to say that all 3 of the brands under my leadership are all B Corp.
That's
And we are proud of it. With Amika, it was really tough to be B Corp in the professional environment. But yeah, we're really proud of it.
Wow. How long did it take, that process? Because it seems quite in depth and quite complicated, as noted.
It can typically take anywhere from a year to 2 years.
Okay.
What helped us was, we have Jamie, our ESG director.
Yep.
The work had started, even before the brands were acquired. Once the acquisition happened, we were about to submit, and because of the acquisition and the change of control, we had to start from zero.
Wow.
So we literally had to qualify under each of the brands. But for us, it took us as we restarted the certification, about 6 months.
Okay. Wow. So that seems pretty quick, the 6 months, right? Pretty intense, quick.
It's because we had everything already in order.
Okay.
Right?
That's amazing. So with Amika and the 3 brands really kind of raising the bar, what do you hope other hair care brands or pro brands will do to get there too?
Yeah, I mean, listen, one of the things that I adore about the beauty industry is that it really is a small community,
Yeah.
right? And what I love is brands can be incredibly fierce in their competitive nature, but we are incredibly giving in terms of collaboration and coming together. And so I think, what was 10 years ago, what was very difficult pioneering work around sustainability and PCR and carbon neutral and all of those elements, today there's been so much that has grown and increased, right? And you have leaders like Davanis and leaders like Aveda who've always been kind of driving that. I put Amika and Eva and Ethique in that camp. There are more of us now who are on that trajectory and scalable. And so the barriers to entry and the barriers to creating action are continuing to become more democratized. And I think that's a great opportunity to be able to say, okay, this is core. This needs to be important for me. I'm like, by the way, the consumers are demanding that. It's time for me to make the plan. And we kind of live by a mantra in our businesses. And Jamie talks this too, is it's really important for us for us, we talk about progress versus perfection.
Okay.
And I think the barrier for many of the CEOs and founders that I talk to is when you start to talk about ESG and sustainability, they think about perfection and they think about, oh my God, how will I get started? And I can't do that. And it's really just progress versus perfection.
I love that. That's great. All right. Shifting some gears. You've got a little program coming up called Camp Amika.
Yeah.
And in talking with Chelsea a couple months ago, I thought, oh, that's a camp I could get behind. I'm not a camper, but this is great. Can you tell us about Camp Amika and kind of that brainchild and where you're headed with the event?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think one of the things that we were continuing to kind of brainstorm around as Amika was, we know that the professional part of our business has been growing at 20 times the category rate.
Whoa.
We are on fire with professionals.
Yeah.
And it's because I think people see themselves in the brand. They have products that are working for them. But when we looked at we're we're feeding a lot of fuel with professionals, and we had done a lot for distributors, like, and salons. Our loyalty program is called Friends with Benefits.
Cute.
And so we really enhanced our loyalty program so that we can continue to help on the business side. But we asked ourselves some difficult questions. Are we creating experiences, and are we speaking to the heart of our hairdressers? And I think what we found was we don't have enough experiences that we're creating for hairdressers with hairdressers. And that was kind of the impetus behind Camp Amika. So, this is our first foray, progress versus perfection. We're going to
Yep.
see it continue to evolve, but it's really an opportunity for us to bring hairdressers together, have them spend a few days in an environment that's outside of what they do, and really kind of focus around mind, wellness, and inspiration.
Okay.
And we're going to be introducing those hairdressers to some of the newest creative leads for the brand, that are going to be bringing craft inspiration and technical inspiration. And then there's going to be a lot of community building. And that's really at the heart of it.
Yeah, that's incredible. It looks like such a wellness and beautiful place to have a little bit of a retreat and grow and learn. And it certainly has been amazing to see the brand grow. You mentioned that it's growing on the professional side 20 times the average rate. I do too remember back at America's Beauty Show when they rolled up with that display, and you're like, "Ooh, I've had it on my shelves ever since," right? So it's incredible to see the brand growth, no doubt.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what I love about it is that we're not doing anything wonky. We're not doing dip discounts. We're not doing crazy
Yeah.
stuff. What we're doing is we're just staying very focused around bringing great products, great education, and bringing people under our tent, right? And I think that's what's made Amika powerful all along.
Yeah, no doubt. You've also had a pretty big year across your social platforms and with influencers, and have done an incredible job at all of the consumer facing pop-up events, as you mentioned. So we see you, we hear you, we feel you everywhere.
Thank you.
What do you think also contributes to that success from a social perspective?
We've got I will tell you, I think what we have been is incredibly focused around kind of our upper funnel communications and
Okay.
how we talk about Amika, and how we
Okay.
talk about Amika to consumer as well as professional. One of the pieces that we identified when we ask ourselves a lot of hard questions.
Yeah.
And one of the things we talked about was, the shampoo and conditioner segment is about 60% of the business in
Okay.
general, right? And when we looked at, we have some incredible products in our
Mhm.
shampoo and conditioners, but when we looked at it and said, okay, does the average salon hairdresser understand what a cure does versus a hydro rush? When we kind of asked ourselves the question, we were like, probably not. And so we started
Yeah.
looking at that and we said, you know what, we really need to have a campaign that allows us to talk about shampoos and conditioners, and in a way, so our let's get
That's
clinical,
cute.
right?
Uh-huh.
Clinical campaign that was the impetus behind that. And I'll tell you, that has been incredibly fun because it's allowed us to not only create the messaging and kind of the discussion, but it's allowed on the social front, it's allowed a lot of user generated content to start to get created. It's allowed us to be consistent in how we're talking about some of these things, but it's also allowed discovery.
Yeah.
So, on our own direct to consumer site, we're seeing about a third of consumers who've never tried us come and they repurchase within 12 months, which is pretty
Oh,
outstanding.
yeah.
We're seeing a lot of repeat. We're seeing people, market baskets expand, and we're hearing that from our hairdresser partners and salon partners, and we're also hearing it from our retail partners, right? It's like people are discovering Amika. And so
Yeah.
I joke with Chelsea and I tell Chelsea, you are the longest playing overnight success, right? Because people are
Truly.
starting to really understand it.
Yeah, truly, truly, because I don't know the exact year that they launched, but was it probably 10, 12 years ago?
2012,
2020. Yeah.
2012.
All right. Almost got that right.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's been a long play, and
right.
now you're back and you're popping everywhere. So it's really, really cool to see that, and well warranted from such a wonderful group of people who are incredibly passionate about the brand. Certainly. I've known Chelsea for a few years as well. And and she's brilliant and as committed as they come too. So very lovely. Where, as we wrap up, where is Amika headed? Any new product innovations, category innovations, like what's next? Because I can imagine you've got a couple things up your sleeve.
Oh my God, we have so much coming. And I always have to think, okay, what will Chelsea let me say?
Yeah, right.
I, I think, for the listeners of the teas, what I would say to you is the Amika that you have known is the Amika you will continue to know. So you're not going to see us getting crazy and out of our lane. We're really excited. We have a couple of new products coming in early 2024 that are salon specific with services attached to them. That is really exciting. And I think it's going to be an incredible new revenue source for hairdressers. And it's going to be done in an Amika way. Right. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be disruptive. It's going to be appealing and consumer facing. But we really haven't done any service related innovation in a while. So you're going to see us do that. You're going to see us continue to bring out, some variations on our key franchises that I think is also going to appeal to consumer and hairdressers. A lot of what you saw us do this year with Let's Get Clinical and the pop-ups and the experiences on the consumer side, you're going to continue to see us doing that, but you're going to continue to see us doing that in other places and for other audiences. Right? So we're excited about that. And for the professionals, right? I know the trade shows have been a big deal, like people are in, people are out, etc. That is our opportunity to connect with professionals. And so you're going to see us in a big way at trade shows because come and see us, come and see the new products, come and meet the team, come and talk to us. You're going to continue to see our signature duffels and bags, right? So you're going to see us continuing to do those things, but you're going to continue to see us do those at an accelerated rate.
All right. Well, we'll be here waiting in the sidelines to view those things because
I think we're going to pull you in on a lot of those, Kelly.
Pull us in. We're here for it. Amazing. All right. Now we're going to round out with something we call the Teas Quick Takes. If you are ready, I'm going to rapid fire you some questions just to get to know you a little bit more outside of the pro industry. All right. Here we go. What was your first ever beauty product that you owned? Dig back into the archives. Yeah.
Oh my God. I was 10 or 11, and I think I bought a Germac product.
Ooh, Germac. That's a throwback.
In my mom's salon.
I'm still waiting for somebody to say the good old Aussie purple shampoo. Like it hasn't happened yet. Like, remember?
I do. Oh, totally. Totally.
All right. Are you superstitious? And if so, about what?
I'm not really superstitious. However, there are a couple of things that are kind of no-goes for me. So like, I don't like to fly on a Wednesday.
Oh my goodness. Very specific.
I know. There's a whole story behind why that, but I'll never fly on a Wednesday. And sometimes I'm kind of obsessive compulsive. So like if I see checkered colored squares on tile, sometimes I find myself only stepping on the white ones.
Ooh, okay. Those are two pretty good ones. I mean, you're not telling me what would happen if you stepped on them. I mean, it's like step on a crack, break your mother's back sort of thing. Like, but we don't need to go there. All right. Who would play you in a biopic of your life?
Oh my God. Who would I want to play me?
Yes.
Mario Lopez.
Okay. Oh, I like that. That's a good one. All right. That didn't take you long to answer. I feel like you've thought about it.
Well, when I was the City of Hope recipient in 2013, Mario Lopez was the guest MC. And I remember seeing pictures and people saying, oh my God, you guys could be cousins. I was like, I'll take that. I'll take that.
All day, every day. All right. What do you consider the ultimate comfort food?
Oh my God. My mom's recipe for refried beans and pizza.
Okay. Wow. I mean, dare you say what's so special about the refried beans recipe? Do we
Oh
need
my
this in the
gosh.
show notes? Like,
Yeah, absolutely. So they have to be pinto beans, not black
okay,
beans.
okay,
And when you cook them, you
mhm,
always add either pork, um, a pork shank, or you
okay,
add bacon.
okay,
That just gives the beans a great taste.
okay,
And then when they get
okay,
mashed, you have a lot of cheese,
okay. Mm,
and you have to keep them in a pot that you
okay.
reheat multiple times.
Okay. Okay. So it's like a bean pot. Like that's the pot.
Absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
love that so much. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
It's my comfort food. It's my comfort food.
Do you have your own bean pot to like recreate the recipe at home? Okay. Like this is the thing. Okay.
Absolutely.
Love it. All right. Last question. Say you are on a deserted island and you can only bring 3 beauty products. What are you bringing?
Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm bringing an SPF.
Yes. Okay.
I am bringing a leave-in conditioner,
Okay.
and I'm bringing toothpaste.
Okay, great. Great. Toothpaste was on my list too. Some people forget about the toothpaste. It's a dessert
Exactly.
island, but I didn't say how long it's going to be deserted. I mean, a ship could pull up and you're going to need to look ready.
Exactly. Exactly.
I love it. All right, Reuben, tell everyone where they can follow you, the brands, like how can we get more information?
Oh my gosh, I love it. So you can follow Amika at loveamika.com, or Amika Pro on
Okay.
Instagram, or just Amika from a
Okay.
consumer standpoint. You can find me. I'm very hard to find. Reuben Carranza on Instagram, Reuben, and same thing on Facebook. And I would also encourage folks to really go to Beauty Changes Lives, and go to the Professional Beauty Association, which is probeauty.org. If you go to
Awesome.
probeauty.com, you're going to go to the Professional Bowling Association. Um, so if you're a licensed professional, you should follow both of those, because I think you're going to get not only a lot of information, but you
Yeah,
may be tempted to also participate.
please do. Elevating the industry, one click, one view at a time. We need it all.
That's right.
Amazing. Well, Reuben, it was great to catch up with you. Thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure. I adore you, and I adore what you guys are doing. So thank you
Thank
again
you.
for having me on.
That means a lot. Thank you.